You wake up because your ship is crying again. A long, metallic sob that trembles through the bulkheads like a reactor grieving its own existence. Not the crew, the ship. After a few centuries in the eye of terror, even that becomes background noise. The kind your brain quietly gives up on understanding. You swing your legs out of your bunk and hope the floor isn't hungry today. It tried to eat your boot yesterday, so you sidestep that patch and mutter a half-formed prayer. The gods never answer in the morning or afternoon or when you actually need them, but whisper the wrong name by accident and suddenly they're very attentive. That's the routine here. The ship cries, something drips from somewhere it shouldn't, and you remember you once chose to be a Chaos Space Marine. Someone dreamed this life, probably not you. You avoid thinking about your loyalist days. Even after 10,000 years, it's embarrassing, like looking back at your teenage phase where you thought a certain haircut made you look heroic. You fought on terror, saw the walls burn, watched brothers die, and realized the only real choice was leaving or becoming a crater. After the scouring, you followed your legion into the eye. It wasn't courage or conviction, it was necessity. Your Primarch said, "We go this way," and you agreed like a responsible soldier, even though the eye looks like a swirling cosmic blender designed by someone who hated you personally. You stepped inside, thinking it couldn't possibly be as bad as it looked. It was worse. Much worse. And now, after so many warped centuries, those loyalist memories feel like scenes from someone else's past. Someone softer. Someone who still believed supply lines existed and commanders didn't have tentacles. Your ship has been your home for longer than most civilizations have existed, and somehow that's the least comforting part. You once asked the Dark Mechanicum for repairs, and the Magos responded by summoning a half-starved warp creature he proudly called a reset protocol. It killed several techs before trying to cool into the engine core, which he claimed was within expected parameters. Out here, everything is scarce. Food, ammo, even people who know what they're doing. Still, after enough centuries in the eye of terror, even chaos starts to feel routine in a way that probably isn't healthy. Your warband isn't a chapter. Chapters have hierarchy, discipline, resources, and apothecaries who aren't actively trying to kill you. Your warband is more like a failing startup run by angry psychopaths who have never once agreed on a mission statement. Every Marine is either plotting, judging, or waiting for his moment. When someone greets you politely, you pay attention to the angle of their knife hand. You used to lead a small squad, then a company, eventually half a host. The promotions always felt impressive, right up until you remembered that chaos promotions mostly serve to make assassinations more convenient. You appointed 20 Terminators as your personal guard. They look intimidating and loyal, but you catch them staring too often. Terminator armor hides their expressions, but you can feel them thinking things like, if I kill him during a warp jump, maybe no one will notice. It's not paranoia if it's true often enough. Raiding the Imperium used to feel like part of some grand plan. These days it's basically a supply run with extra bloodshed. You don't launch an attack because of destiny or hatred. You do it because the ammunition lockers look sad, the crew won't stop complaining, and the ship insists it can't keep running on positive vibes. A raid can swing either way. Sometimes you come back stocked with gear and prisoners who might be useful. Other times you're dragging yourself home with half your warband missing and your armor still smouldering from whatever just blew up behind you. And then there are the warp delays. You once dropped out of transit 57 years late to find the planet already exterminatus. You're still bothered attacking the rubble, because at that point, why not? You pretend it's about honour or revenge, but really, someone once said you were slowing down, and you've been overcompensating ever since. Imperials like to imagine chaos is always coming for them. It's adorable, really, because most of your fights aren't against the Imperium at all. They're against other Chaos warbands who, for reasons no one remembers, hate you just slightly more than they hate everyone else. You've clashed with one group 4 times over 5 centuries, and you're all too embarrassed to admit none of you can recall how it started. You're fairly sure it started with an argument over rations, or a door, or a corpse. Honestly, everyone involved is too proud to ask. Alliances aren't much better. You once formed an eternal pact with another warband, sacrificed a demon prince together, shared victories, drank Ica. Then they ambushed you because a sorcerer claimed your aura felt dishonest. In hindsight, that was probably the closest thing to honesty involved. You've also tried cooperating with Thousand Sons. They were polite, efficient, unsettling, good partners, in theory. You fought beside them for decades. Maybe you saved them. Maybe they saved you. Maybe you betrayed them. Memory in the eye of terror tends to wander off. But when a Thousand Suns warband tried to burn your flagship 1,000 years later, you had a feeling you'd made a choice somewhere. Chaos isn't unified, it's barely coherent. It's a 10 millennia argument where everyone keeps shooting each other to win. Eventually, you turn to the gods. You never planned to, but chaos is a place where desperation sneaks up on you. You whisper a small request, and sometimes the answer comes quickly. An extra burst of speed, a sharpened instinct, a moment of impossible clarity. Of course, there's always a catch. The morning after your speed gift, your leg fused to your greave for 2 weeks. You begged Tzeentch once for a glimpse of the future and got a vision of yourself screaming into a mirror. You're still not sure whether it was a warning or a calendar reminder. Chaos gifts are a cosmic slot machine. Some days you get a genuine boost, other days your shoulder turns into a hungry mouth. You tell yourself it's worth the risk. You say that a lot. When your co-leader was assassinated officially by unknown factors, unofficially by someone with a knife, your entire warband looked to you. Some with expectation, most with calculation. Rumours gather quickly in the eye. You're too cautious, too reckless, too obsessed with sorcery, not obsessed enough, too trusting of your terminators, too distant, too aggressive, too anything. Maybe it's true, maybe it's nonsense. Maybe rivals started the whispers. Maybe the ship itself spread them through ventilation shafts like gossip spores. In chaos leadership, truth doesn't matter. Perception does. If people think you're weak, they kill you. If people think you're too strong, they kill you, with more enthusiasm. You keep leading anyway, mostly because there's no retirement plan. When a Black Crusade begins, you join automatically. It doesn't matter what you're doing, calls for vengeance, calls for unity, you march because everyone else is marching. You survived enough crusades to know they usually turn into extended group therapy sessions with more blood. This one lasts 24 years, or maybe 200. Hard to measure when time around you stretches, compresses, or wanders off whenever it wants. You fight across multiple systems, shouting battle cries that felt inspiring 5,000 years ago, and now sound like marketing slogans you can't replace. Halfway through, an Emperor's Children warband attacks you for reasons unknown. Maybe someone hired them. Maybe they hated your armor color. Maybe they were bored. They squeal a lot when you fight them. You try not to think about it. Your spies remain quiet, possibly because they're dead, or replaced, or allergic to information. Eventually, the Black Legion pays you a visit, in force. They offer you one of 2 options: paint your armor black, or be turned into a cautionary tale. You consider your choices and decide that repainting is easier than dying. You join. You pretend it feels different. It doesn't. You're still fighting, still plotting, still starving for resources. The only real change is the branding. Chaos is chaos regardless of the uniform. Later, you fight alongside World Eaters and Death Guard. It sounds powerful on paper, berserkers on one side, plague-soaked nightmares on the other. In practice, Khorne and Nurgle worshippers mix like flame and promethium. You try your best, but someone insults someone else's god, someone sabotages a ritual, someone coughs a plague cloud directly into a berserker's face, and suddenly everyone is killing everyone. The alliance lasts anywhere between 1 week and 8,000 years, depending on how the warp feels about teamwork. You return from your crusade with fewer marines than you left with. You once had hundreds, now you have maybe a third or a tenth. It's hard to track casualties when your bookkeepers keep mutating into things that can't hold pens. You need reinforcements desperately. You hire a talented but deranged apothecary who promises new marines in exchange for a priceless relic. You spend decades finding the relic. You bring it back, he ruins everything. You briefly consider killing him, but there's always another crisis to handle. Eventually, you crawl back to Word-Bearer space. They welcome you as a brother, accuse you as a traitor, or ignore you completely because they're too busy arguing about theology. They fight among themselves constantly. You join one of the debates once. It lasts 53 hours. You swear the demon they summoned halfway through fell asleep. You remember why you left. Leaving your legion's territory was easy. Keeping mortals? Much harder. Your cultists, traitor guardsmen, and slaves vanish over time. Some mutate, some defect, some are eaten. Some leave because serving you became emotionally draining. You think about firing them, but realise you forgot how morale works. You raid worlds for replacements. Sometimes you succeed. Sometimes you end up with prisoners so useless you consider throwing them back. Humans are unpredictable, which is ironic considering you're the one with horns. You strike one final bargain, protect a forge world, get troops and equipment in return. By Eye of Terror standards, that's practically wholesome. And of course, it immediately unravels. Maybe you win the war, maybe you lose it, maybe you show up half a century late because your navigator sneezed at the wrong moment. Whatever the outcome, someone ends up furious with you. Someone always does. Then the strange moments begin. A twitch in your arm, a shiver in your spine, a voice whispering from somewhere it shouldn't. You tell yourself it's stress, or rage, or the warp playing its usual games. But it doesn't stop. Your bones warm and soften. Your vision fractures. The ship cries again, but this time you're not sure if it's the ship or you. And eventually you understand. All the pacts, the gifts, the just this once boons, they've come due. The gods collect, and they never explain. You don't die, you unravel. A chaos spawn crawling through corridors that no longer recognize you. 10,000 years of struggle, and this is the ending. Not glorious, not heroic, just inevitable. In the Eye of Terror, this is the closest thing anyone gets to retirement. Welcome home.